What's going on, guys? We're on r/Velo again today, talking about Legion of LA's richest race in US criterium history and some of the controversy that's going on around it, because there's a few things going on because the start list was released a few days ago. So we're going to get into that and I'm going to give my thoughts, but a bit of background if you're not sure what's going on here. Basically, a month ago, this is a Cycling Tips article. Big story came out, big headlines over on Twitter, Instagram, big news. Richest crit in US history is coming to Sacramento this October. So Legion of LA's Justin Williams is behind the event, which will have $100,000 prize purse split evenly between men and women. So the race is essentially run by Legion, by Justin Williams. So let's have a quick read through here. It's basically a one criterium, October 30th. It's one race, 70 minutes long. And all the prize money is just in one race. So you've got $100,000. Not much else to go into here. Basically, it's just a big deal. This is the most amount of money that's ever been on offer in a US criterium. And Justin Williams says here, his vision's always been to make the sport of cycling great for everyone. So to that end, there's more than just pro-level racing. So it's going to be on a Halloween weekend, family-friendly activities, blah, blah, blah. Lots of stuff going on. So basically, this came out. And I think it was either assumed or somewhat insinuated that this was not only going to be a criterium that had a lot of prize money, but also that it was going to have a real elite pro level of racing. Startlist has basically come out. This is the start list here, where there's a bit of controversy around. So I'm not going to try and explain it. I'm basically going to read through this post on r/Velo that explains it a bit better than I can, because I'm in Australia, not too privy to it. So this person asked, does anyone else think this is a joke? Legion is the only UCI team there, and they have two squads racing in the pro event. The rest of the teams are all amateur, and one team is literally a master squad. So let's have a look through. There's no other UCI teams here. So Legion of LA is the only UCI registered team, and they've entered two teams. Now, in all UCI races, even most domestic level races in America, you can't enter two teams from the same trade team. Most teams, you can enter one team and it's a limited number of riders. So most races will be one team, 7 riders. That's all you're allowed to enter. I think in criteriums in America, it might go up to maybe 10 riders. But it's pretty much unheard of to be allowed to enter two teams in a single race. But this is Justin Williams' race. It's Legion's race. They make up the rules. They can do whatever the heck they want. So they're entering two teams in it, which is they're allowed to do. It's their rules, fair enough. But let's have a look here. So what the other person said was they could have had, so some of the other US sort of based UCI teams, Rally, Wildlife, Generations, Avolo, which are all really strong teams, they're not on the start list. So it's basically, these are just amateur teams or masters teams in here. So a pretty weak field, if we're just being objectively honest, compared to some of the other USA criteriums that are on. So let's get into some of the discussion here. I'm torn on Legion because I think they're great on social media, showcasing people of color dominating, so it could help grow the sport long term. But come on, hosting a $100,000 crit and calling it the biggest race in US history, then posting this start list is a bit of a joke, pretty lame. He's a bit salty because his team didn't get invited to the pro race. So let's have a read through some of the comments. I've gone through two minds on this because essentially here's what I think of it. Now the comments on this thread were all pretty negative. On one hand, I've got my racing brain, which says, yeah, this is a piss take. How can you have a race where none of the other good teams in the country are showing up, and then you enter two teams, and you're basically, of course they're going to dominate. They'll probably get 6 in the top 10 and take all the prize money back. So from a pure racing, the racing side of me was a bit like, yeah, this is a stitch up. And some of the comments that sort of agree with that sort of the way I was thinking was, yeah, sounds like this was the point. Mayweather wants his playbook back. Even Red Bull / AlphaTauri isn't this blatant. So they're both Red Bull sponsored teams in the Formula One. And then like some of the other more negative comments, Legion has been milking this out for pretty long. Being a pro team with ex-UCI guys isn't really cool when you show up to race desk jobs every weekend. Everybody would love to see them hop in some bigger races, but they don't seem to have any interest in that. They do all the biggest other criteriums in the US. I'm not sure if that's true. Yeah, they don't go over and race in Europe and stuff, but maybe they will down the track. Some other sort of comments. Saw a post on someone's Instagram, can't remember who. Well, that's not very useful, is it? So can't really verify this, that they applied for their team to go to the pro race but never got a response. Same thing for our team, lol, but they did invite our men's team to the women's race. Right. So here we go. This is really good. So just saw the team list. That's pretty shitty. So this person obviously knows who the teams are, which I'm not aware of these teams. So Austin Outlaws, no idea who they are. Sort of a Team California, a development team a few years ago, pretty average. This sounds like a decent team. This team, Rashan, I remember that. Rashan, that name rings a bell. I think he's a good crit racer. Mike's Bikes, yeah, they're a pretty well-respected team. So then two Legion teams, an Elite Masters team, a former domestic sort of team, an OK team, a team they're not sure who's going to be on it, and a USA Crit team who's never been noticed before. So yeah, exactly. So pretty much, yeah, not those big UCI American teams are missing. And probably not the strongest start list. So yeah, that's the sort of the racing side of things. You know, the way I see it, this is a massive stitch up. I mean, either way you slice it, it does appear like it is geared for Legion they've pumped this money in, and it seems like they've set themselves up extremely well to win most of it back. But if you think like that, I really think you're missing the point. That was my initial reaction when I was reading through some of this stuff. I'm like, oh, this is stupid. This is such a stitch up. But then thinking about it a bit more and looking at it from Legion's perspective, and especially from Justin Williams' perspective, I can have a bit of respect for what he's doing, because he's made no qualms about he's looking to grow the sport, grow the name of his team, and make it a cool and make racing sort of a cooler thing. And I've seen from the stuff Justin Williams puts out, the comments he makes, he's definitely got that hustler mentality. So sort of reading between the lines, I think for him growing his own name in the sport and growing his team's presence in the sport of domestic racing, he's then saying that, well, that's good for cycling in America because it makes the sport more popular overall. So for him having this race, which he's going to go there, the team's going to absolutely dominate, get all the money back. Yeah, from a pure racing point of view, that's a total stitch up, but it's his race. He can do whatever he wants, and he's not in it to please the purists that are in it for the pure fair racing of the sport. He's in it to build the sport as a whole, build his team's name and build his own name, and this is a very effective way to do it. I think if Justin Williams was on this thread reading the comments, he'd be like, yeah, it's a total stitch up and we're going to win all the money back. Yeah, it's created a lot of publicity, and it's going to be probably going to be a really well-run, popular event in Sacramento on the day. But that's kind of the point. It doesn't need to be fair. It's not, Justin Williams doesn't owe anything to the UCI or to USA Cycling to put on some or actually to that point owe anything to any of the other UCI registered pro teams in America. He doesn't owe them anything. Again, so like other comments here, big fish in a small pond, this crit is such a joke. Yeah, it's dumb. They shouldn't be racing in it at all, IMO. Otherwise, it's just a marketing stunt to make them easy money. Yeah, exactly. It's a marketing stunt. It's his team. It's his race. He doesn't need to prove anything to the other UCI teams. It's not a bloody charity. He's not USA Cycling. He doesn't need to come up with fair races. That's down to the UCI and to the governing bodies to do. He's trying to come up with a race to support his own team and in a way to support how he thinks he can support the cycling as a whole. And it is a marketing stunt. That is, if you think that's a negative thing, you're entirely missing the point of the whole race. So yeah, you just got to look at it through a bit of a different lens. Like I think as well with these articles, I mean, actually in any of these quotes, he hasn't come out and said, oh, this is going to be the most fair racing, the best place for all the best riders to showcase their talent or anything like that. He never made that comment once. He said this is going to be the most prize pool that's ever been on offer. And what else has he said? He wants to make the sport of cycling great for everyone. And he wants people to have fun in the community, race their bikes, and get to witness a good criterium race. I have some other things that I don't necessarily agree with on Legion, with the makeup of their continental squad, which I might make another video about. But in this sense, in this race, I think he's nailed it. And the people in this r/velo thread are kind of missing the point. This is kind of a problem with being the promoter and racer. Conflict of interest. Yeah, but it doesn't need to be fair. That's not what the race is for. So all these people getting their panties in a knot because the race isn't fair, and saying, well, they're just going to win all the prize money back. Well, they don't owe it to anyone. They're not USA Cycling. So that's my take on it anyway. As I said, I'm not just some Legion fanboy. There's stuff I do disagree with them on, but in this sense, I think they've nailed it, and pretty much everyone in this Reddit thread has entirely missed the point. So that's my thoughts on it. Anyway, interested to know what you guys hear, and I'll catch you in the next video.